Well, thanks everybody for joining. I'm Austin, the co-founder and CEO of Rinsed, the car wash CRM. Just very briefly, for those who aren't familiar, Rinsed connects to your existing car wash point of sale hardware, helps you manage and grow your memberships. We're in about 2,500 car wash locations around the country, and integrate with all the top five car wash point of sales. So today we're talking specifically about an issue that we've observed with some changes to how Visa deals with credit card declines, specifically with the most recent DRB update, how that affects our ability to recharge certain types of declines and get them back to active status. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And want to thank Harold from DRB for helping join us on the call today to just answer any specific technical questions and just generally for the support from DRB with the partnership with Rinse to make sure that we're ultimately both working hand in hand to help you all keep the most membership revenue possible. So the agenda, first we're going to describe exactly what's going on and what's causing this increase in credit card churn, and the why behind it in terms of the changes that Visa has made on the business rationale for those. Talk a little bit about how this is impacting some of our customers. Not everyone's impacted yet. So we'll talk about what SiteWatch version we would expect to see this on. And then we're going to talk about the Rinse solution and how starting this week we can start to combat these and hopefully keep that churn back down to the levels it was at previously. And then we'll leave some time at the end for some Q&A where as Jacob said, you can submit your questions and then we can chat through them at the end. But just to set the table here, so what we're talking about specifically is that Visa has begun implementing fees. I think it's roughly 10 cents per additional attempt on what they call Category 1 credit card declines. So Category 1 here means that the credit card processor has responded with an error response that is signifying the card should not be tried again, and specifically that those exact credit card details will not work if you just attempt the same thing again. So our normal recharge cadence, often we're advising 15 to 20 attempts, and here if this card is lost or stolen or expired, we know the exact same card details are not going to work, and so that's where they're asking not to continue to retry that card. This is not all credit card decline types. The other types are type 2, and those might be things like insufficient balance or maybe just an ambiguous error where you could retry it again and you might see success. But so we're talking about these category 1s, and today we're talking about Visa specifically. Obviously, that's the largest credit card network, but I think we expect to see others likely follow suit and how they're dealing with these category 1 declines. So in response to this change by Visa, DRB made a change to how they deal with the recharge cadence from SiteWatch 27.4 on. And now whenever a type 1 decline is received, instead of going through the normal, say, 15 attempts, they're only going to try that one time, and then the customer will be immediately moved to expired status. So they used to be in declining status for however long your attempt period would be before they finally went to expired. But now they're skipping straight to expired. And the result of that is that they're just getting that one attempt, and the next 14 days there will be no attempt on that card. And that's to avoid, again, that Visa guidance around the fees that they would incur from those subsequent attempts. But for our mutual customers, this has had an impact in that we see lots of people going into credit card decline, but then Rinsed tries to work with the point of sales and the customer information that you've gathered to make it as seamless as possible for them to update their payment information and return to active status. And the issue here has been that when someone has been moved fully to expired, that's not a membership that you can reactivate through the normal channels. If I could successfully update the card that's technically on file, but it's not actually going to result in that card being tried again at 5 a.m. the next morning. So that's resulting in, an inability to actually return those members to active and paying status. So what does this look like? So here's an example of what churn might have looked like for a customer. Say they were running roughly 4% churn. They implemented Rinsed, where we're proactively messaging these customers when they decline. We saw that consistently drop down to about 2.5%, which is really about as good as we see in the industry. And then with this additional SiteWatch upgrade to deal with these Visa Type 1 errors, they saw that credit card related churn increase back to kind of above 3%. So they were seeing a 30 to 40% increase there. And these customers, we could still message them and let them know that there was an error, but we had no way to get them back onto a recurring plan, and to do that like automatically without having them have to go into the car wash. So 30, 40% increase in churn certainly like adds up a lot, and you're thinking about your overall retention and what that means for lifetime value for these customers. So I think very important like business rationale from Visa's perspective as to like why we shouldn't be recharging these cards, want to avoid these fees, but also want to make sure that we're having a clear path for these customers that are willing to actively update their card online and get them back into active status. Harold, anything I missed there from your perspective on the Visa side of things in DRB?
No, I think you hit it right on.
Perfect. Thank you. So in working with DRB, we've discussed sort of what the best solution here is, and just to give you like a brief overview. So typically, Rinsed would look for a number of declines. We'd send an automated message. That customer would be able to go click a personalized link, go directly to your website, not need to log in, not need to enter their barcode, but just provide their updated payment information, and then they would return to active status. That doesn't work anymore, because even if they follow all those steps and update their payment information, that card's not going to be retried because they've been deemed straight to expire because of this Type 1 status. So the solution that we've just implemented is that they'll still get a notification when they enter into this Type 1 decline, but when they pull up that credit card update form, they're going to reconfirm what plan level they should be on, and then under the hood, Rinsed will actually sell them back into that plan and reassign their old barcode, so they can then go to the wash and continue washing normally. So we think this would result in the least amount of friction for the customer to still return to active status, and hopefully not have that effect of the 20-30% increase in credit card related decline. So what this will mean from an implementation standpoint is that there will be additional automated audiences and messages that will go out, specifically targeting these customers in Type 1 decline. I would note that this will also work if someone is self-managing their plan, so going through the member management form, or if you have customer service agents using Rinse to look up the membership and update the payment information. So any of these will recognize that this is a specific Type 1 decline, and not just update, but update, sell back into a plan, and reassign the barcode, are kind of the three steps that the Rinse has to take under the hood. And from the customer's perspective, this will look, again, just like the normal credit card update. We're not going to need them to enter their barcode. We're going to pre-populate their name, email, phone number, any sort of contact information we have. But the additional field here is them reconfirming what plan level they're going to be on. So this is a bit more technical. So I would suggest, reaching out to your CSM to talk about how the actual implementation details will work here. But essentially, you're going to want to pick which plans should be exposed to people in this Type 1 decline. And typically those would be like just the primary plans, not sort of promotional ones. And those will be what are shown to customers when they go through this plan. I did want to call out a couple of the limitations to this current solution. And I think this is a lot better than just having everybody go straight to decline. But we do recognize that there are some shortcomings with the existing implementation. So one is, if someone's in a promo period, there's no easy way to sell them back, halfway into a promo. So today, the only options are going to be to resell them into a full priced membership. So that might result in additional customer service request to have them fix that promotional period. The other one I wanted to call out is that regional pricing, to the extent that's different. Today, everyone's going to be shown the same options in terms of what plans they can reselect. I think there's an opportunity down the line, like we do with downsells, to have those plans be scoped based on the type of membership the person was on, the location that their membership was associated with. But again, today we just want to get this V1 out, given it is affecting so many membership dollars for our DRB customers. And then the last thing to mention is the renewal date will change and be the date that they actually updated their payment method now. Whereas before it used to be that the renewal date stayed the same. And we think this is really part of now the kind of our best practices suite of all of the tools that you should have on in order to minimize churn. So I'd start with always having the credit card updater on in terms of Card Connect and making sure that that's functioning properly. The second line of defense is really those automated credit card decline notifications, where again the important things for conversion are that a member doesn't need to sign into some account that they've never used before, that it's embedded on your website to build trust, and that they're receiving the message, from emails and phone numbers that are associated with your brand. So just as a reminder, what that looks like typically. So I would get a text and I would be sent here. This is an embedded iframe onto a customer's website, where again, the important things are really that this is already pre-filled in, and all I need to do is update my payment information. And under this new type 1 decline, there would just be that additional field where they're selecting what plan we want them to resell into. And we typically, target a kind of 15 to 30% reduction in involuntary churn with that. Or the second line of defense for churn overall would be our customized downsell offers. So this is when someone is going to quit online. Can we look up that membership, potentially offer them a better price to stay in the membership? We today advise that we've seen the best results with something like a 50% discount for 3 months. Rinsed will then return that member automatically to full price after that 3-month period. And we're seeing on average people staying for an additional 9 months after taking that plan. So, if you have a discount for 3 months, that's 3 months of discount and 6 months at full price. And you can scope those to make sure that you're only offering them to people based on their usage, with really the goal being to keep more members profitably. And just as a reminder of what that looks like, so here I'm going to fill out my cancellation. Because I don't wash often enough. And if I confirm I want to cancel, it's going to look up my membership in real time and potentially offer me a plan. And looks like here I qualify for a 20% off offer, where I could lock this in if I wanted to. And then really the last leg here are these new type 1 credit card notifications, where it's going to look very similar to the underlying customer, but we will need to set up these new audiences and these new messages. Rinsed is going to automatically duplicate your existing credit card decline messages. So it's going to be just more about selecting which plans should be available to them and then turning them on. So we want to make this as easy as possible to roll out to everybody. But we think this should be the last leg of defense here for these credit card declines, which we wouldn't be able to fix through the normal channels. And as I mentioned before, this will work both for the notifications as well as customers proactively going online to fix their plan, or your CS agent looking up the customer and Rinse to fix it. So next steps and sort of who's affected here. So one thing I would note is it's best to have this in place and ready to go before you upgrade to 27.4. When that upgrade goes through, you're going to see an immediate spike in these type 1 errors. and then they'll reduce slightly to like the normalized elevated level. But you really ideally want to be able to notify those people as soon as you make this upgrade, because you're going to have a bunch of these type 1 errors right off the bat. And then just in terms of what everyone should be thinking about in terms of next steps, our CSMs will be identifying accounts that are affected and reaching out proactively over the next few weeks. But if you have questions, please reach out to your CSM. And for anyone else who's not a Rinsed customer, you can reach out to us on the form on our website at rinsed.com, and happy to chat more about all things churn. So with that, we'll open it up to see if there's any questions.
Okay, great. Thank you, Austin, for sharing all of that. We do have a few questions, so I'll share some of those now. First question is around pricing. There's a couple of these. One is, will Rinse take a commission for reselling customers with Category 1 issues? And similarly, will you be charging a new fee structure for this fix?
Great. Yeah, so we do not charge any commission for this. This would be, part of our standard CRM package, where credit card decline notifications and updates and downsells are included in that base price.
Next question here is, in terms of measuring the impact for each customer, is Rinsed able to give a percentage of churn that is related specifically to type 1 declines?
Yes, we are. So we're going to add to the standard churn reporting both the frequency of these type 1 declines and then what percentage of them are successfully returning to active status through this mechanism I described.
Another question here, with the type 1 churn for reselling, will it always be a drop-down, or will customers be able to leverage graphics similar when doing online sales?
Yeah, V1 is going to be a drop down, but I think we're open to feedback once that's live, with really the goal being, we want to keep it as simple as possible, but no simpler for the underlying customer to maximize conversion.
Okay, and for the type 1, will they be only able to offer one type of plan, or will customers be offered? Will customers be offered to sign up back up for the plan they were on, or will they be given multiple options?
Yeah, they'll be given multiple options. So this is an example where they were shown two. I think the plan is to look into how can we default to the closest plan that they were on, and we're doing more work on that.
Okay, a couple questions about DRB specifically, so I'll just read them all and you can kind of take them together. But one is, what if we already have SiteWatch 28? And then another is on asking if Patheon is affected by this as well.
I think for 28, that all this applies to anything above 27.4. But Harold will keep me honest, and then I'm not sure on the Patheon question.
Yes, if you're already on SiteWatch 28, you're seeing this behavior in the SiteWatch application. And for Patheon, it has not yet been rolled into Patheon, but it will be. Don't have a date on that yet, but it will be at some point.
And Harold, one other question that I'd received was, I know we're talking about Visa here, but that's not every credit card. So any expectation of whether the others will follow suit?
Yes, I do believe MasterCard will follow suit at some point here.
Okay.
Next question here is on timing. So when did the Visa change take place, and when do we expect the timeline for the fix to go live is?
You're saying when people are affected by it? Is that the question?
Yeah, when did the Visa change happen so that when they started seeing the impact of it?
I don't know when the Visa rule was put in place precisely, but you'll see it when you upgrade to SiteWatch 27.4 or above. So I saw one of the questions earlier on was, can you avoid this by not doing the upgrade? The answer is yes. At some point in time, you will want to or need to do an update. But if you're saying, hey, I just don't want to mess with this, and for now, yeah, you can hold off on the upgrade, with SiteWatch. With Patheon, that's a different story, because all sites get updated at once with Patheon, but with SiteWatch, you could hold off on the update longer if you wanted to avoid this.
And then just again, question on the timing. So when did the Visa change happen, and when do we expect this fix to go live for customers?
You say fix go live.
That's
I'm
for
not-
that question's for Austin. Thanks, Harold.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so this is live and functional now for rinse. So we can be turning this on for folks, as soon as they reach out to their CSMs and get this set up within their system. And it doesn't take a lot of setup, particularly if you're already doing online sales. You'd likely already have these plans configured and available to the API. But I guess the other thing to note is for all of the non-type 1 declines, nothing will change. It's really just if you set up this path for the type 1 declines so that we can get them back in.
Okay, and then I think last question here is actually around other POS systems. So I think someone asked, how is Sunny's ICS MicroLogic dealing with this issue? And if so, will be rinsed, what will rinse do with that to help that?
Yeah, I think it's on our agenda with all of the point of sales to discuss. I don't have clear answers for how each of them are dealing with it, but we will certainly have that in the coming weeks.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining. I think that's all we have for today. A recording of the session will be emailed out to everyone who registered, so you'll be able to watch this at your own time. But thank you again so much for joining, and please, like Austin said, reach out if you have any other questions or need help.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks again, Harold, for joining as well.